The following program is made possible in part by a grant from the Ohio Arts Council.
The Poe Road Public Art Project began in the fall of 2005. Bowling Green State University's Public Art Committee had come to the School of Art with a proposal that a class be developed that revolved around a public art piece.
The Public Art Committee, whose mission is to really help advise the President on arts policy on campus, consists of community members from the campus because it impacts the campus art itself. We had heard of projects elsewhere where art students actually made the proposals and then built the proposals for public artworks. We had only heard of that in a graduate setting, and we wanted to see whether the students of the School of Art would be able to do this as undergraduates. It was a way of giving students real life experience from beginning to end of an art commission, and we were proven more than right to have made this particular decision.
So a class was developed to focus on beautifying the intersection of East Poe and North College in Bowling Green, as it was one of the entrances to the school and the city that was in need of much improvement.
So the 15 students that enrolled, mostly juniors and seniors, divided into 3 teams of 5 and literally competed for the winning commission. So they spent the entire semester working on proposals, talking to the city of Bowling Green, Wood County, finding out what they could and couldn't do, finding out infrastructure sort of situation out there.
Some of the problems that had to be overcome with the project and where it was chosen, it was outside the city right away and on the county property. So the county commissioners had to be contacted to see if they would allow the county garage property to be used for the project. This would require the chain link fence around the property to be moved. There was also a tree that was in the way and was going to block, right at the corner, would block the view of the project. The county commissioners did come on board very quickly and granted the area that would be needed. The fence was moved, the tree was taken down, and the project fit.
While dealing with the technical aspects of an actual public art commission, the students had the opportunity to speak with guest artists who were able to give them valuable insight into the world of public art.
After reading a little about the Poe Road Public Art Project, I kind of thought that since it was a corner that sounded it sounded pastoral, it sounded like there wasn't much in terms of buildings and action going on. It sounded a little rural. That maybe playing on some of the history of the area might be something you might want to consider, and that's precisely what was done here.
I've learned a lot. Like I said, the guest artists that have come in and spoken to us, I've really retained a lot from the experience of going through these steps and just the reward that you'll get from the class. Even if our team doesn't win and end up getting the commission, I think that the experience has been worth taking it.
In all, there were 3 great proposals. The first was a fence containing the silhouettes of community members. The second involved a sculpture park that contained student work. And the last was a more humorous approach with neon green bowling pins.
The students are taking on a real responsibility as artists, and I didn't get that in an art school sort of situation. I mean, if you wanted that, you had to go make it happen yourselves, and they're given the opportunity now to do something that's just not required of them, and the class isn't a required class. Those students get to step up to the plate and do something that's not only meaningful for their degree or their art experience, it's meaningful to the community. It's they're giving back in a way that you don't always get the opportunity to do in college. They're stepping out of the art school. They're being artist citizens, but they're doing it on a public level, and that's the exciting, pretty unique, I would say, opportunity for them.
The judges for the project, which consisted of 3 competing proposals by students who had spent a semester working with an instructor to do them, were myself, Linda Dobb, our vice president, Mayor Quinn of Bowling Green, and a wonderful visiting artist, a sculptor, who was here for a sculpture workshop.
In December of '05, a jury decided that the team, The People, would take on the challenge of Poe in college.
We want to contact like the fire chief, and we want to we got a few people already volunteering that are that are business owners in the community that want to see a silhouette of themselves being part of this wall, to be part of the community.
The winning team basically dealt with all of the issues in a really engaging way. They had a proposal which really did address the community of Bowling Green. The task for the students was to design a gateway. And gateway has two sides, and they were doing it on a site that was a gateway that went from the city of Bowling Green to Bowling Green State University. And their proposal brought together silhouettes of both university and city figures. Not only did they have a very captivating design, but they had also very carefully investigated how to build this, and they had also found the funding to make most of this possible, and we were very impressed by the holistic nature of their proposal.
There's an existing gate. So it's been very exciting to have the collaboration between the university, the county in this case, and the city. Very exciting, obviously a very worthwhile community project to see it come to fruition. This is something I think that will be beneficial not only to the university and the students and their futures, but it's going to leave a lasting mark on the community that I think we're all going to be able to enjoy.
You have to admit that the entrances to Bowling Green don't really say much about the community. It's nice that we're putting up a piece of art that is silhouettes of the people of Bowling Green, because it says something about the place of art in Bowling Green and the place of people in the community.
I think one of the things is it's just fun for people who now know that they're represented on that fence to be able to go by and show themselves to other people. But it really does. If you stop and look at the emblems that are on that fence, it really represents contemporary Bowling Green. There are lots of folks up there and lots of occupations up there that represent the things that make this city run every day. So it really is a great representation of the community in a contemporary sense. As the years go on, I believe that will probably change a little bit and will become more of a historical representation of the city.
The center of the structure is a scene of the Black Swamp. The silhouettes expand into the history of the area, depicting the life of Bowling Green and how it became what it is today, with a foundation based on oil and agriculture.
When we were designing the project and we were trying to think of what was in the center, what's the foundation of the community, really one thought popped to mind was the center, the foundation of this area is the Black Swamp scene. So we needed to find a way to be able to incorporate the natural elements of the area and also with historical context to the oil boom and railroads and the architecture of the area and how that all developed with the agriculture as well. But I found myself kind of initiated into wanting to research more about the Black Swamp scene. And part of my journey of research, I went out actually into remaining preserved areas of the Black Swamp, which there isn't that many, we'll just say. And I was trudging through swampland in my boots with my camera, and actually that scene that you see in the center there is, you might be able to find it. It actually almost is completely a pre-existing scene with swamp, actually. I didn't capture all the animals in that photo or anything, but a compilation of several photos that I took actually in remaining preserved areas of the Black Swamp. I wanted to bring focus that people need to realize that these areas are important to the area and that they need to be preserved and that they need to be put on the spotlight. People need to recognize that they're important for the community, and hence it being the center foundation of the entire project, of the community portrait. So,
a big part of the project was a donation from Defiance Metal Products, who provided a majority of the metal and the manpower to cut out the silhouettes. So the project went from a preconceived idea of placing an object at the intersection to a 350-foot fence, which extended the timeline another year. With such a big project, help was needed, and all kinds of people from the community provided support whenever they could.
So yeah, we had students from the school come out and survey us. We had some of the sculpture kids here actually came out and helped us install the whole thing, and it wasn't really like an organized group of people, but it was people that were interested in the project and interested in public art, and they all came out and just helped us pretty much put the thing together at various stages. We had various people coming in and out. We pretty much posted that we needed a little bit of help, you know, because it was hard moving those panels with just like 2 or 3 of us, and we really needed like 4 people to move each panel. So we put postings around the sculpture department area, and people picked up on it, and there were some people that really stuck with it and actually were with the entire process of installation all the way through it.
We had some alumni that were friends of ours came and helped us when we were building it. You know, we had various contractors, companies from around here, around Toledo, helped us in a lot of ways with, you know, when it came to like pouring the concrete and stuff like that, engineers. So we had a lot of outside help.
Even with all of the help they received, there was still a lot to do. The students spent most of their time talking to engineers to get structural designs approved, seeking additional funding for the project, and refining their designs for the silhouettes.
Well, the refining of the designs, it went in, it was different for different parts of the whole composition. The central area was a little bit different, you know. It started out as a sketch, and that worked into like draftings, which then worked into outlining on the computer programming. But the people, the silhouettes are a little bit different. Those went straight from a photograph and directly into outlining on the computer, so they didn't have to go through the artistic draw, although there are certain elements within the scenes, like there's trees and squirrels and like logs and props and stuff that did go through drawing elements and such, but most of the people in the silhouette areas are from direct photos of people in the community interacting and stuff. So
a lot of our shots were just sporadic. Like we were driving one day in the van and we saw this perfect businessman with a briefcase, so we kind of peeled out in front of him and we made him pose for a picture. And I mean, he was all right with it, but we kind of had to, some of them we just saw them on the street and maybe they were the perfect person that we had in mind. We started out with a list kind of like ideas. Maybe there were 50 ideas like of different professions that we wanted to have for sure. And then we sought those out, and then the rest were just sort of sporadic.
Once the digital photographs were taken, they were outlined to create the silhouettes.
So what we had to do, we have to outline each one of the figures that we're going to use. So we just create paths. Like I went around and I put a bunch of dots, a bunch of points, and it ended up making a shape around these firemen. And then I went in and I cut out like the stripes on their uniforms and stuff like that, just to add a little like pizzazz and break up that black space a little bit. Okay, so once I outline all these points and I make lines around the figures, I end up with silhouettes, which are going to be what make up a wall, you know, a series of these, hundreds of people.
Once the digital files of the silhouettes were transferred to Defiance Metal, the cutting process began. The vector images were loaded into a computer program that drives a laser cutter that cuts the silhouettes out of the steel. The precision and versatility of the laser cutting machine enabled the panels to be cut in a timely manner. The silhouettes were then powder coated, meaning that the paint was baked onto the surface of the steel for durability and to help protect against scratches and corrosion. When properly cared for, a powder-coated finish will not crack, chip, or peel as conventional paints would. A functional aspect of the design was that if a particular panel gets damaged, it could easily be removed and the repair could be made.
There's a few factors in deciding the material. One is the stipulation with working with the Wood County corner there is that it still had to act as a barrier and a fence for the Wood County garage. So it was both a sculpture and a functioning security barrier. So we had to go with a material that could act as that barrier. So metal came to mind, particularly since the students began to develop this relationship with Defiance Metal Products. We're going to donate the metal. Other materials, woods and things like that, aren't going to last as long. We want this to be a lasting piece that's not going to fall apart. So we considered stainless and aluminum and just mild steel. The expense of stainless was pretty astronomical. Aluminum itself, although lighter weight, we found through our structural engineer maybe wouldn't hold up as well structurally to the wind force out there, so we decided on the steel.
Throughout the project, there were obstacles to overcome, from file transferring to structural design to the geological makeup of the ground.
Well, it's a big difference from when your project is on paper and you can draw up anything you want, but when it comes to reality and actually building the thing, it's a whole different story. We found out a lot of bureaucracy we had to go through, a lot of politics as far as like getting permits, working with the city, county, and university, getting them all to coordinate for the project was a challenge. Yeah, it was just a lot different than we expected. Definitely a lot harder. It's taking a lot longer than we thought to get the permits we needed. We started digging, we hit bedrock, we had to go back to the engineer, more drawings, more county approval. So it's just one example of how, I mean, everything we do, we kind of run into roadblocks a lot, but we're slowly working through it.
People from the community were really needed to step forward, and they did. They went out of their way to lend a hand and make this project happen. Not only did people financially help out, but they also volunteered their time. When people came to the site, they would get excited, and they took pride and a sense of ownership as well. The community stepped forward to embrace the project and came together as a whole to help complete the fence.
Once the first panel started to go up, then the cars started honking as we were out there, and the waves and the thumbs ups, and then perhaps maybe even some of the skeptics started to think that maybe they really are going to do this, but the response has been just more of a visual response because people are seeing something happen, and the hard part to convey to people for the past year is all the unseen preparatory work that's required to get that piece standing up.
Another aspect of the project was called lighting up the community. The grand vision was to light the fence so at night the silhouettes would create shadows. In order to increase donations to pay for the lights, the Lend a Hand campaign was launched. People who made donations during the campaign had the opportunity to trace one of their hands and have the outline and their name cut out of the steel the same way the silhouettes were created. The handprints were then placed playfully along the bottom edge beneath the silhouettes. Though the Lend a Hand campaign did not bring in as much money as hoped, it helped to raise awareness and connect the project to even more community members.
It went fairly well. I think anytime you're doing something like that, it's hard to sell it because the people don't see, they can't visualize what we're doing. I mean, we showed them pictures and stuff, but anytime you're like trying to get money for something that isn't built yet, we found that it's hard.
The initial intent was to complete the project in a year. In an ideal syllabus outline, the students would design the project in fall '05 and they would build it in spring '06. However, the magnitude and the scale of the project grew, which extended the timeline another year.
Well, from the very beginning, we had a big idea, and we knew that it was going to be a huge project, and we knew it was going to be 360 feet long, but we didn't realize what it would take to actually make that happen. As far as, it was almost like building a building in some regards, because we had to have permits and we had to have engineers' drawings that had to be approved. We had to go through several different engineers and avenues to make that happen.
They never thought they would spend almost 2 years on this one project. But the students grew and matured from good art students to professional artist citizens. Every time they hit a barrier, they reevaluated and worked through it, always finding a way to keep moving. There were frustrating days for sure, but the impressive part was they kept moving, and they took it upon themselves to make sure that the fence would get finished.
It's really nice that we'll have something from the students that will be a permanent part of this city. I mean, students are a permanent part of this city, but the same students aren't, because students come and go. And of course, everyone thinks the university buildings are forever. So now we'll have something that's by the students and about the students that will be here forever and ever. It's wonderful.
It feels good to leave a mark, to give back to a school, and it's something we can always come back to. You know, when we're in the city, we can show our families, that kind of thing. So it feels really good, and it feels good to get the positive feedback from the community that we've received too.
I really like the fence. I pass it every day on my way to work. I think it's a great way that the students were able to get a good work experience, good life experience. I think it's a great way for the city and the university to have an entrance that way, and it makes the city and the university look that much better.
I like it very much. I think it's very interesting. It caught my eye right away. It's unique and it's pleasant to look at.
As you come down Poe Road toward the fence, you encounter the Black Swamp Central Scene, which is really the heart and soul of the project, and it depicts the history of Bowling Green. Then, when you start to study the piece, you will notice that off to the left, as you venture down North College, the subject matter is about Bowling Green State University. You will see everything from students painting the rock, to Bud Hurlstone blowing glass, to someone in the photochemistry lab doing research. The structure represents an institution full of creative people, engaging in research, athletes, and everyday university activities. If you travel down Poe Road toward Main Street, you will encounter scenes representative of the city of Bowling Green. You are going to see businessmen talking on the street, hikers walking along a trail, a mechanic changing a tire on a semi, and others doing what they do day to day.
But I think more important than the fact that the mayor is up there is that the city seal is up there, and people know that it represents Bowling Green government. So 50 years from now or something, if somebody's still looking at that wall, they'll still recognize the representation of Bowling Green government and the place that it plays in our community. So that's what's important.
Anytime you move art into the public realm, your audience is there, whether you want it or not. With the traffic on Poe and College being so busy, there is an audience every few minutes. So when you take on a public art project, you have to consider that your audience is different from an audience you would have in a gallery.
I think that the People Project in particular wanted to engage the people and make them the content and the subject matter of the piece. So, you know, that's what's exciting about it is that people in Bowling Green are going to be able to come up to this sculptural wall and place their handprints where their handprint is, or see their colleague at work performing some sort of duty. And so, you know, for them, the People Project is about the people, and it's out there, accessible to the public, and that's the exciting part of it. You know, it can be seen any day of the week.
We were told repeatedly that undergraduate students were not capable of realizing a project of this scale. It's a 300-foot long work of art. Mature artists would have found this daunting. The fact that of the starting team of 5, 3 stayed on all the way through to completion and were working there in all weathers and never gave up is the greatest testament to creativity and perseverance, and I am confident those 3 students will go on to become very, very successful human beings and artists.
If you can give this kind of experience to any sort of college student, regardless of the program, this sort of transition between student and professional, I mean, that's what this college experience is all about, and that's what these guys are getting, is the opportunity to cross that bridge from art student to art professional. And you know, if a college, or this college or any college, can provide that experience for a student, regardless of program, then they're doing something pretty exciting.
Well, the chances of getting an experience like this through a class is really rare, it seems, because it's just having all the approvals of all these different departments to be able to do this and have the funding is, you know, we're pretty fortunate to be able to go through this and have it as a learning experience before, you know, when we actually get out of college and go out into the real world and do this, we've already got that experience on our back.
In May of '07, the official unveiling of the Poe Road Art Project took place. People from all over the community came to celebrate its completion and show their support. Additional donors stepped forward, and the artists received accolades for a job well done.
The preceding program is made possible in part by a grant from the Ohio Arts Council